Well, what's up? What's up, Chainsaw Shack? Brody here. What we're going to talk about today is this saw right here, the Echo 620p. This has been in my arsenal for 3 years, and what we're going to do is basically go over the good, the bad, and the ugly with this saw. We're going to cover what I've done with it, problems I think it had, and the good and strong points, which, you know, I'm not really going to be able to come up with too much negative about this saw. It's really going to be mount to the filtration on the saw was the only real fallback to the saw, which really isn't really terrible, but it's something that could probably be addressed by Echo. I guess we'll go over that first, and I'll go over some of the things, the differences between this saw and the 590. A lot of people keep asking that question and thinking there's really no difference. They look at the displacement and they think, well, they're both 59.8 cc's, basically 60 cc's, you know, and they think they're the same saw, and they're really not. Okay. I've owned this saw 3 years. I've ran a few different bars on it. I've ran a 20, a 24, and a 28. When I bought it, it had a 24 on it. I put a 28 on it. This saw pulls it with authority. It runs really good, okay? These are great saws, and for the money, you can't beat it. And if you go through sawsuppliers.com and you are a shacker, you can enter the code SHACKER at the checkout, and you will get a pretty sizable discount for buying this saw through Saw Suppliers. I guarantee you ain't gonna get this saw that cheap anywhere else for that price. You're gonna have to check it out, go see, you're gonna be surprised. It's below what suggested retail price is, okay? You heard that from me, and that's a gift from the Chainsaw Shack, you know, to you guys out there for being shackers and loyal. Check out sawsuppliers.com. That'd be your place to go. Okay, let's start off with the very first thing I got here is the air filtration on this saw. This is a stock filter for the 620. As you see, this O-ring is not factory in here. I've added it to this. These are known for collecting a little bit of dust and some fines getting through the filter right there. With this O-ring on here, that stops that. You can buy these O-rings. You can go to Harbor Freight, wherever you want to go. If you're a Harbor Freight phobe, you can go somewhere else and pay more and get them. I got these Harbor Freight cheap, $5-6 for each one. You got the metrics, SAE, and your standards right here. You can't beat that. Fit everything. I put an O-ring in there. And even without the O-ring or with the O-ring, what you can do too is add some dielectric grease on there, and that will stop the fines from getting through on this saw, and then your problem will be non-existent then. For the stock filter, okay? That's if you're running a stock filter. And the 590 Timberwolf would be the same filter, same setup, same issue. That is one of the only biggest issues with this saw, would be the filtration. You know, the filter stuff itself is great. It's just right here with the sealing, and sometimes you can get fines through, especially if you don't keep your chain sharpened and your saw is making powder and fine dust. That can get worse, okay? Upgrades as far as mine has been, I saw Redbeard Saws, and he makes a filter for it. I have ordered that filter and put it on here, and this is made out of the same filter stuff that motorcycle filters are made out of. He makes an upgraded filter that fits on here, and you oil this filter with filter oil, foam filter oil. I'm trying to remember the brand name of filters that are out there for motorcycles. This is the same filter material that's used on all those. I'll see about getting a link and putting it in the description box on the video to buy those filters. They're $50 shipped. It gets a little more airflow, a lot more filter surface, and it's just a better filter. You know, it's a nice upgrade if you don't want to use the dielectric grease and a rubber O-ring on this saw. That is pretty much covers the ugly part of this saw. The rest of it, the saw is very durable. It runs very strong. I have videos in this on YouTube of the saw running, and you can see that it's very powerful and it has no problem pulling a 28-inch bar all the way buried. This saw is pretty much stock other than the filter, and it does have a muffler mod. You can muffler mod the stock muffler if you remove the inner deflector on the muffler. Remove that and you will gain 50% more flow. It will wake the saw up. You will need to remove the limiters and retune the saw because it's going to require more fuel anytime you open up a muffler or intake. To let more air flow in and out, you're going to have to add more fuel to it, or your saw is going to run dangerously lean. So I suggest not muffler modding if you don't plan on tuning it, because you're not going to gain anything from it, okay? This one is muffler modded. The original muffler was deflector modded. This one, as you can see, is muffler modded. I hope you can see that on the camera. This one, I had a muffler built for. Now, for the good stuff, the saw makes a lot of torque. It turns about 13,200 RPMs, but it's a long stroke motor, so it may not turn the little few extra 100 RPMs that a 562 turns, but it's going to make that RPM up in the cut because it's going to make more torque. This saw will make a lot more torque than any MS 362 and will pull a 28-inch bar better than any 562 Husqvarna. That's just the facts. I know a lot of people will be butthurt over that, but it's the truth. My videos prove it. I don't see a stock 562 or 362 pulling a 28-inch bar, full comp chain like this saw will. I haven't seen any of them do it. They're really fast with a little bar, but you know what? I didn't buy a saw run. I don't care about 20-inch bars. You know, I prefer to run a 28 because I prefer the reach. There's less bending over, reaching, and stooping. It saves the back. You know, so anything you think you're saving with your back with a 20, you know, because you think it's lighter, you're going to do a lot more bending over, reaching, and you're going to, that far as I'm concerned, that negative don't outweigh the positive with a 28-inch bar. Okay, this saw, it's got a 5-year warranty. No other manufacturer is doing that. This saw is reasonably priced. As I said, you can check them out through saw suppliers. Suggested MSRP for this saw is $559. If you're going to buy a 562 or a MS 362, you're looking at $800. You know, their suggested retail is up there. Okay. Differences, as far as differences go with this saw and the 590. Most people think they're getting a 590 and they're getting the same saw, and there's no point in upgrading to this saw, and that would be incorrect. Some of the main differences is this saw has a magnesium clutch cover, not the plastic one, and it has dual dogs on it. This has a magnesium clutch cover, as you can see here, with the outer dog on it. You can add the outer dog on the 590, but it will be inside the cover, not on the outer part of the cover, mounted to the cover like this one is. This clutch cover is magnesium, and magnesium has the advantage of working like a heat sink and pulling heat away, where you got all that heat from the clutch, the main bearing, and everything is on this side. That will kind of help work as a heat sink and also pull heat away from the motor, unlike a plastic cover, which will not. This saw has a rim drive sprocket, where the 590 has a spur drive. This saw has a bigger carburetor than the 590 has. The 590 has a smaller carburetor. It has a spur sprocket. And the 590 also has a limited coil. This has an unlimited coil on it. So there's no limit on the RPM, especially if you're going to port this saw and tune it up. unlimited coil, you know, that's a lot of people are going to want to seek that. This has an aluminum handle. The 590 has a nylon handle. People call it plastic. It's actually nylon. So this would make this a little more durable. The 620, this isn't the factory bar, but the 24 that came with it, I ordered it, was an Echo bar, and that is a little better bar. It's like a pro bar. It has a replaceable tip. You know, your 590 is going to have a cheaper bar, a laminated bar. It's not going to have the replaceable tip. So, you know, you're not really getting the pro end of cutting equipment on a 590. The port timing, the ignition timing, you know, the ignition curve in this coil is also different, and so is the port timing. They are not the same. So, you know, the advantages that you're getting for a little bit more money over the 590 is worth it. I mean, this is not the same saw as the 590. You could save a lot of money by getting a 590 if you're just going to be a firewood cutter and you want to save a little bit of money. The 590 is a great saw. I'm not putting it down. You're getting a lot of saw for around 400 bucks. It's a great saw, but if you can afford to jump to a little bit more money to jump up to this one, it's well worth it, because they are not the same saw. And this is the pro version of that saw. This is a pro saw. This is not a homeowner saw. The 590 is considered a homeowner saw, even though it's actually built better than any of the Rancher series or the Farm Boss series, which are all plastic clamshells. The 590 is a magnesium case, just like this saw is. This is a great saw. This saw also has 2 rings on the piston. And hold on, I'm going to set my heater off. Sorry about that, guys. The 590 has a single ring piston. This has a double ring piston. That is another one of the differences with the 590 and 620. So this has a dual ring piston, which over a long run is going to hold its compression a little longer. So to give you, you know, a decent saw, that, you know, but to cheapen it some to make it more affordable for most people, the 590, they cheapened some things on it, like the single ring piston, plastic clutch cover, cheaper bar. I mean, that's where you're making your savings at. So, you know, it's not the same saw. Like I said, it's still a great saw. Everybody that's ever bought them has loved the saw. You know, you're not going to get that much saw anywhere else for that kind of money. To get a steel equivalent or a Husqvarna equipment, you're going to spend $400, and well, you know what? Not even in the 400s. You're going to spend around $500 to $550, and some of the steel is almost up to $600 to get a saw in that same class, and you're still not going to get as good a saw. You're going to get a plastic clamshell instead of a magnesium case. So that pretty much covers this saw. With the good, bad, and the ugly, and its features. It has a compression release up here on the top, dual bucking spikes, dogs on it, magnesium clutch cover, translucent fuel tank so you can see where your fuel is. I mean, you can't beat these saws, okay? Like I said, if you want to see it cut, check out my videos on this channel. I have several. I have one where I put the 620 up against a 372 XP, and you'd be surprised how well this saw did against a saw that's 11 cc's bigger. This is only 60 cc's, but when you run it, you would think it's 70. It runs good, so check out those videos. Appreciate you stopping in. So that will cover the good, bad, and the ugly on this saw, and I appreciate you guys checking in. Shout out to the Chainsaw Shack. Shout out to American Piddler channel out there. Go check him out. He's got some great videos on tuning saws. Talks about different fuels, all them kind of issues. So check it out. I'm going to talk to you guys later. Brody, go on with the shack. Thanks for checking in.